Josh mentioned superdelegates before, and it's going to be an interesting part of this election because, I mean, obviously the Republicans would love to have superdelegates because some of them want to stop Donald Trump or Ted Cruz. But the Democrats actually can if they're that scared of Bernie Sanders. And so far on the Democratic side, these superdelegates, which are free to support any candidate regardless of the vote, they're not surprisingly lining up behind Hillary. Peter, isn't the Democratic establishment going to have a lot to say in this, even if Sanders vastly overperforms his expectations?
Sure, and we've seen a lot of that kind of meddling going on already, particularly with the scheduling of the early debates, where the Hillary-Bernie stuff was buried in the deadlands of early Saturday nights and holiday weekends and things like that. Bernie is an interesting character, and he reminds me of the wrong guy in the right place. Hillary is not well liked. She is a very soft candidate. The people that support her almost in a defensive way. Vote for Hillary so we don't have President Cruz. That type of thing. There's no enthusiasm there, and her negatives run steady with her positives. People were desperate for an alternative, and unfortunately, fear of Hillary just pushed out a lot of people. Elizabeth Warren, for example, Kirsten Gillibrand, who would have been awesome candidates and probably will be awesome candidates in 2024. But they got frightened about Hillary's sense of inevitability. And so the only person who was there to satisfy this building need for something new was Bernie. And due to his age, his unmediagenic looks, he's sort of gentlemanly in a very rough game. He's really not the guy we needed to stand up to Hillary and represent this electable other way.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that Peter, again, an older gentleman, kind of perceives Bernie a lot different than, maybe me or Eric, because there is something of a generational divide there. And by the way, you said Elizabeth Warren would be a good candidate in 2024. She'll be older than Bernie Sanders by the time that rolls around.
She'll be 74, 75, roughly.
I don't have to bank on that.
Age is just a number, young'uns who haven't paid your student loans off yet.
Well, age is a number that can be quantified as 84% of voters under 29 are going for Sanders right now. Josh, how big of a role do you think the superdelegates will end up playing if Bernie does get on a roll?
They'll play a significant one. Again, it was because the thing about the superdelegates is, I remember when it became an issue in 2008, Barack Obama's campaign made a lot of hay about it being undemocratic and subverting the will of the people. Then as the superdelegate fight went on, because most of them will not commit to vote for anyone until the end of the primaries. That's sort of why Hillary Clinton was going around before they started saying, I can count on your vote, right? So since most of them don't decide till the end, a lot of times, if there is a groundswell of support from the people for a candidate, because they're politicians first, they will be like, the candidate that wins, this is my guy or girl. So I don't know. I mean, if Hillary Clinton continues to court them while the primaries are going on and having success at it, it could be a significant barrier for the Sanders campaign to overcome. But whether whether the Democrats or the Republicans, in order to stop Trump or Cruz, are seen as subverting the will of their voters and their base, they've just lost the election for probably the next two cycles. Maybe one cycle if you get a really good replacement in there to fix things up. But to have a brokered convention and seemingly go against the will of the voters, that will cost you the election in that moment.